It is now time to experience the buzz, a podcast that takes an inside look at amazing people doing amazing things. Get ready for some great conversation that will be fascinating, educational, and inspiring. We will also leave room to help small businesses in a big way. Now, here's your host, entrepreneur Steve Buzzard.
And welcome in, everybody. It is another edition of Experience the Buzz. So glad to be with you. I am the host, Steve Buzzard, and we are on episode number 117. We are going to do something completely different. That's right. We are actually going to flip the script because this is going to be like a 2-for-1 because I finally get to introduce to you the audience of Experience the Buzz to Michael Knobbe, my producer. You've heard his name many times. He came on board in episode 80, all right? And so we will talk about that quick journey in our conversation. And then from there, I just turn over the reins to Michael. He actually is going to do the interview with me. And with it, we're just going to talk about Experience the Buzz, what we've done, what we're looking at, and what's in the future, right? There's so much that has gone on, and not just the last year, but since we've been here, which is January of 2021. We are actually in year number 3, and like I said, episode number 117. So very grateful to you, the audience, that have been able to tune in, and of course, subscribe. That's a very easy thing to do. When you do that, it alerts you to brand new material. We've been pretty consistent with bringing you episodes on the weekly every Friday. So with that said, guess what? We're going to do that little screenshot where you see a transition, and then we turn it over to Michael Knobbe. This is Experience the Buzz, and I will say, enjoy the conversation.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Experience the Buzz. My name is Mike Knobbe. As Steve said, a bit of a role reversal as we're going on our 37th episode here together, going into episode 117. We kind of wanted to take a moment and kind of highlight our journey together in terms of since we've been working together, the journey of the podcast as a whole, both in terms of the video and the audio portion. And then just to kind of get to know the guy, right? I mean, again, it's one thing to kind of highlight this show that we get to bring to you on a weekly basis. But again, just to kind of dive a little bit deeper into why this show came about, like what was the inspiration for it. I know at least for myself, Steve, if I can kind of start off, coming into this show or kind of catching wind of it. And as we've gone along, this idea of kind of bolstering Sacramento and just all like the very interesting people who come from it and the business owners. It's such a beautiful concept. And so first off, before I get going too far, welcome to Experience the Buzz.
Thank you, Michael. And a great job. Great job right there. Yeah, this is interesting because as we were talking about this episode, I had said, I'll just do a solo podcast to kind of recap and get us refueled for what's ahead. And you had just mentioned, well, what if you had someone interview you? Well, what I think you didn't know is, first of all, great idea. But secondly, the person I had in mind was you. Well, thank you. So it's exciting to have you kind of take over the host duties. And I have to say, it's been just a great partnership. And we know that you came in on episode number 80. That's right. It was huge. But let's talk about our connection. Like, our connection goes years back, and it's crazy because we talk about Sacramento being kind of that full of small world moments. That's happened with you and I.
That's right. Do you want me to kick off how we got?
I'm going to let you do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we met through our friend Rena, and it was through a live stream charity auction during the pandemic. We were trying to find a way, or at least for the auction, I guess charity auction should probably be a good indicator of how we could still give back in a time where people couldn't get together, right? And so, I, at the time, was living in Los Angeles. I was working with a group down there called Apex Art Studios out of North Hollywood. Rena is my fiance's aunt, and she caught wind that I was a filmmaker live streamer, right? And so it just kind of worked out great. And so I got to meet you again, just on the day of at that production. And then since then we did what? I think we did 3 live stream events, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, 3, including Del Deo, because you were part of that one. That was a school auction. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And it's out of, curiosity, I felt like it was an out of the blue moment because you were getting ready to move up to Sacramento.
Yeah.
You had mentioned, I believe, listened to the podcast, and you just kind of reached out and said, hey, would you be interested in having a producer? I mean, literally, it was that simple, wasn't it?
That's right. That's right. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say always. For many years now, I've loved the podcast format. I love the idea that you don't have to just interview someone. You get to have a conversation with them. And whether that is a 5-minute conversation, an hour-long conversation, or more, I love the fact that you get to like kind of dive deeper in getting to know these people, right? And so, again, in moving up, again, and catching wind, again, because we had worked together before, and I had seen through your socials that you were doing the podcast. And then again, as I was kind of diving in on my own, I was like, man, this is such a cool concept. Like, I think it really is going to lend itself perfectly to YouTube. And so it just kind of worked out great. Again, to your point, I was moving up here anyway. And I was like, I've always liked working with Steve the few times that we did. And so it just kind of worked out great. And I reached out, you got back to me pretty quickly. And since then, since I moved up, I think within me moving up here, we probably were working together within like a couple of weeks.
Yeah. I mean, and if you remember too, you actually, when we started, you came with all your equipment. Remember, as we were doing our testing, because I've only done one live, but that was prior to when you had jumped on board. I actually had someone in the same room that you had come into, Kenya Kelly, who was one of our earlier episodes. But I remember it was like, okay, we're going to bring this every week. And then we thought, okay, I think we can do this over like this type of format. Like it's That's a right. Zoom format, and we landed on Riverside. I think we tried something else, but Riverside has definitely been our platform, and it's worked very well.
That's right. That's right. I mean, I think it all goes back to, again, like when given the opportunity, I still love as like just like filmmaker, content creator, I still love the option or the opportunity of getting together in person, just because like I get to throw my bigger camera at it. Yeah. Right. But again, the idea of this platform, and it's just so much more accessible. Like you're already asking folks, especially small business owners, where time is everything. Like you're already asking them for like a set period of time. So the fact that, again, it's that much more accessible, where it's like, if you want to come in, great, but more oftentimes than not, here's a link to this great website. Again, to your point, we were initially using Zoom. And then when we found Riverside, like, I mean, it's not perfect, but it's pretty dang close. And again, on a filmmaker standpoint, the fact that it's separate video and audio tracks, like, I can't say enough good things about it. So, yeah, so I mean, it's just kind of perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, like, for me, this was so big because, first of all, just working with you, I was very excited about. But the time element was huge for me, right? So up until 80 episodes, I was doing everything. And I did it on GarageBand, and I had it to a T. That's but right. It's a time-consuming thing to sit down, because if you want to put out a good product and you want to make sure it sounds good, well, you're going to put some extra time into that. And
that's right.
I enjoyed the process. I did. But at the time, I remember saying to myself, okay, I want to be able to have a video presence as well, because what I've learned as a teacher for 26 years is that everybody receives their information differently. So you've got to hit on everything. So if we have the audio component, makes sense to have the video component. Well, I had no knowledge of how to do that, right? And so that was like the perfect timing thing where you came in. I remember we kicked it off with Chemo and Dakota, Fruit Frenzy. That was our first. It was a big hit, and then, we just kind of went from there, and it's been great ever since.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, again, like and to your point, like it just seemed like I've been in a similar situation. Well, the show that I was doing many years ago at this point wasn't a podcast. Like I've been in that place of being the like writer or the concept creator, being the director, being the editor, and it does become, again, the moments that you enjoy doing it, they are definitely there. But there's also, at least for me, when I was doing everything, there was that moment of like, okay, let's go do this all over again. Yep. And so my thought was like, again, in like reaching out to you, was like, he's already got the conversation. He's already got the star power. let me just take the production like element, like not away, but like let me take that like extra work off your shoulders, so that way I want you to focus on your questions. I want you to focus on your guests, which again, you were already doing. But again, my goal was to like kind of open that up even more. And so again, just in this like kind of crazy to think it's already been almost a year.
Right.
So crazy to think that one, it's already been almost a year, and two, like what this has like kind of spun off into with the other shows that we do, and like just kind of like constantly coming up with new ideas. Like, I know I text you daily, folks.
Yes,
daily, folks.
Ideas are always flowing from Michael Knobbe.
I try very hard. Like I try to show restraint, and sometimes I'm better at it than others. More oftentimes than not, I'm like, oh, I gotta send it. But all that to say, like just getting that little bit of like an outlet again, and getting to kind of show my chops as well as like. Yep. An editor, whatever the case may be, like it's just been very, very rewarding.
Well, and it gets my mind going too, right? Like you notice, like I don't think I've turned you down on any suggestion you say.
That's right.
Yeah, thumbs up, let's do it and stuff. But we've also kind of found our thing, and I think from that, these other things will eventually happen. Like I feel like we're just kind of breaking the surface. So you mentioned like other projects. So we had this idea floating around about heavy metal thunder. And the way it originated for me was to actually take old classics and break down albums. So like Sammy Hagar's Standing Hampton or Metallica's Black Album, and really revisit some of those great albums. And then what we would do is we would add it as a third segment. Well, it turns out, some things are going to work and some aren't going to work. And I don't want to say it didn't work, because for me, it actually was fun. I enjoyed it. But what it did do is it did uncover something that has been very big. And I'll let you explain that.
Yeah. I mean, just kind of piggybacking off of that, like another favorite medium of mine besides like just like podcast, YouTube, whatever, was I found myself going down the reactions kind of like rabbit hole. And like I got such an enjoyment out of watching folks react to the songs that I liked or didn't like, but more so the ones that I liked, to see what they thought. And so I was like, man, like this is such an easy outlet. Like this is going to be so much fun. And you already liked metal. So I was like, okay, how does someone who likes, I would say more like kind of classic metal, like how do they react? How does Steve react to Lorna Shore, to Kublai Khan, to Terror, to, you know what I mean? Like, and again, they don't all hit, but again, there's a genuine nature to that. And like the following that we've accrued since then has spoke to that so much. Like it's so, go across the comment section. Like that sounds like a flex. It's not. Go across the comment section of these videos. Like people, they respond to it. They come back for it. They want, even if you don't love that song that they're bringing to you, me too. I bring you songs and I'm like, I hope you like it. But if you don't, it doesn't break my heart. I know that I'm going to get the honest answer no matter what. So long story long, like it's been so much fun. Like I look forward to when you're like, I just did a batch of reactions. I'm like, ooh, like I get to go watch it first. So
right. And I had to restrain myself from giving you any reaction before you actually see it. So then that you have kind of that passionate reaction, like, wow, I wonder how he's going to respond to this one. Sometimes I'll say, yeah, this one was great or something like that. But I try to keep it to a minimum. But what's interesting about this is like, so I'll do a batch and, I'm doing that kind of that same thing every time, because I think it's important to, introduce or reintroduce what it is that we do. But here's where I'm curious, where we'll flip the tables. I want you to describe it for people, like what we do on First Look.
What we do on First Look. Yeah. Again, we take the idea, the concept, and now we have folks writing in their suggestions is, again, we take, I'll say newer metal or offshoots of it, right? Not always just like metal. Like, again, it's many subgenres. And again, we just get Steve's raw reaction to it. Hey, do you like this or don't you like this? And then you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. I appreciate the point system. Definitely not a rookie move there. One bite. But no, again, I appreciate like the point system. And again, it gives you like, at least me as like a viewer, not just the editor of it, it gives me something to look forward to. Like, again, how is this one going to land in comparison to something else? And like, no two reacts are the exact same. And like, even if we have songs that have similar elements, like it doesn't exactly mean that they're going to land in the same place on the rating system. I think the many reactions we've done to like something like Spirit Box kind of really speaks to that. Like we have songs by them where it's like very, very heavy and it lands a little bit lower by way of Holy Roller. And then we have songs that are a little bit more melodic of theirs that land higher when like a song that would be melodic by someone like, I struggle to think of one, but like Crystal Lake, for instance, like when they're melodic, it doesn't quite land the same. So again, it is exciting and it is engaging to see that. So again, these raw reactions to like songs that you may not have heard otherwise.
Yeah, and our very first one that we did was indeed Lorna Shore. The Pain Remains. And here's the fun part about this, because within the segment, I talk about kind of heavy metal as a community. It's an experience. And part of that experience for me is being able to obviously see this song, this video, the look for the first time. And then if I like them, to be on the lookout, like, are they coming to town, you know? And it's going to be cool because on April 20th, you, my friend, along with my son Max, we are going to a show to watch my two favorite bands, Mastodon and Gojira, but opening up, none other than Lorna Shore. So I was like, that is the absolute perfect thing. When that came about, you were the first call I made and said, hey, I want to take you to this show. And so it's going to be cool to kind of bring that experience to kind of a full circle.
That's right. That lineup is absolutely perfect. I mean, it is everything that we've been doing. Throw, again, a band we were just talking about on that lineup, and it's kind of perfect. I absolutely can't wait. I do... this may be a little too inside baseball. I'm excited to see, are we saving Max's reaction to Lorna Shore? Are we saving his reaction for a react, or are we saving it for the show?
That's a good idea. Okay, we're gonna have to chop that one up and chat about it, because there's a couple of different directions we can go about that. And when we're speaking about Max, that's my son Max, who also likes heavy metal. And we did see, here are the offshoots of this show. We try to do something in which you were a part of as well, where I would give you an old school video, you guys would give me a new school video, much like First Look, and we kind of did that. And did we run into some problems with the old school videos? Right?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yes, our dear friends in Dio and Van Halen. Neither one of those bands, surprisingly, see the appeal in folks reacting to their music. No matter the traffic that we would definitely generate to them. It's such a bummer. It's such a bummer. But consistently both of those videos, and that's now the second time that we've tried to feature a Dio song. Two separate Dio songs, and consistently, like it's just like instant. Like you post the video, and then I'm just like, it's like I can watch it going running, and Dio's like, "Here I come!" Like your video's coming down, and then you get the fun thought of like, or the fun option of, do I delete that part of the song, or do I go back in and add something new? So commonly we have to cut it out.
So Michael, if this was the halfway point of this conversation, because we talked, we were going to just make this a little short and sweet thing, you know, it would be time to, mention our sponsors. Yeah. I'm sure you have them down to a T.
Yeah, I do. You're going to want to check out, we're coming to the sponsors portion of our show. Thank you, Steve. And first and foremost, we're going to talk about Anya Hall down there at the Little Will Swim School. They have that nice heated indoor facility, nice warm water. In the coldest of cold winters, especially here in Sacramento recently, it's just like, is it rain or is it sunny? Which one is it, right? So we were getting a little bit of that, but it's like when you go to Anya Hall, you don't have to worry about that, right? I mean, the pool, it's nice, it's heated. We got classes ranging anywhere from, for the little ones, we're talking 2 years old, 3 years old.
I mean, babies. No, they've got classes for babies, man.
Babies. Okay, yeah. There you go. So again, the little ones all the way up to grandma and grandpa, right?
Yep.
I mean, talk about such a great way to not only kind of exercise, right? But again, that low impact. I mean, there's a community element to it. And Anya Hall is just doing a great job down there at the Little Will Swim School. So that would be the first sponsor. Second one, Pit Boss Jerky. Pit Boss Jerky. We are up to 14 flavors. How many flavors?
It is back to 12. It was at 13, but
we
it
were
went
up
back to 12. And the 12th one is named right after this show.
That's right. The Experience the Buzz flavor. Our personal favorite was that raspberry chipotle.
Yes, raspberry apple chipotle, no doubt.
That's right. Raspberry apple chipotle. That was a huge favorite of ours, even though I've never tried it, but it was great. No. Raspberry apple chipotle, total favorite. And then last but certainly not least, we're going to want to thank Troy Rousey down there at the R5 Stitch and Print. He had, some heavy hands in making, things like Steve's hat. And he just, he has his team of designers who are there. We're talking around the clock, who are ready to kind of collaborate with you and kind of get those shirts made, those hats made. We're going to come up with some very cool custom designs. He was responsible for the Buzzard, a lot of the Buzzard ball gear.
Absolutely.
So those are our three sponsors. Am I missing anything, Steve?
Nope.
Okay.
Well done.
Great.
So Michael, if you wanted to become a sponsor, how would you go about that?
Yeah, you're going to want to go to experiencethebuzz.com.
Actually, buzzardball.com.
We're going to want to go to buzzardball.com. See what happens? Yeah, we're going to want to go to buzzardball.com, and there's going to be a little link on the page, and it's going to give you some options, give you some ideas, right? We're running deals anywhere from, a certain dollar amount. We're working out deals with local business owners to try and let's help each other out. There's no reason why we can't collaborate. Again, that's the whole kind of idea behind this podcast, right? So again, the whole idea is getting the word out and really, again, highlighting local businesses, small business owners, especially of the Sacramento area. So again, whatever that looks like to you, feel free to reach out to us. Again, we run this show weekly. We have our reactions channel, which our reactions video that are absolutely blowing up. Our biggest video right now is closing in on the 7,000 view mark, give or take, right? So again, I'm more than happy to kind of work with and accommodate what it is that your business needs.
All right. Wow. Great ad read, Michael Knobbe.
Thank you.
Done.
Thank you so much.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss an episode of Experience the Buzz by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. It means everything. Now, back to the show.
So as we go into the kind of the final stretch, we were talking a lot about First Look and Heavy Metal Thunder and stuff. Mm-hmm. Getting back to the podcast, something new that we actually have just started, and this was just based on a little research that I did, and it comes from a podcast called The Binge Factor, which is hosted by Tracy Hazard, which actually I'm trying to get on the show because they have a thing. I think if you have 100 episodes, you can then qualify to be on her show. She's a pretty big deal kind of thing. And what she does is she goes through and tells you what's great about your podcast and things that could be better. So one thing that she brought up with a guest that she had was for longer versions of podcasts of breaking them down. Okay. So we know that here on Experience the Buzz, I am very transparent about the fact that I do not want to sell or cut anybody short. Meaning I am going to let the conversation naturally flow. And it has for 117 episodes. And I'm okay with that. And yes, we have had not many under an hour. We're usually between 70 minutes and 90 minutes. And we have had a few, like my classic one with Kevin and David Sutherland that almost went 2 hours. But it was, I thought, just a great conversation. But what we're doing now is we're taking that full conversation, not cheating what takes place, and just cutting it in half and now giving you a part one and part two. And it looks like so far from what we've seen that it's kind of worked. We did it with Serena Paulson, who was our last guest.
That's right. And that most recent episode is up to how many downloads at this point?
Yeah, it's weird. So, okay, let me preface the number that I'm going to share with you to say I try not to put emphasis on downloads and listen. It's hard to really tabulate like who's listening and stuff. For me, we do it out of joy, right?
That's right. 100%.
We break even on this show. We have a couple of sponsors you're taken care of. It's all good. We do it for fun. But we did get a big number. Like, so on a weekly, I'll get numbers, and they range anywhere from 20 to maybe 100 or so. Okay?
Yeah.
That's how it is. Well, this last week, after we did the split with Serena Paulson, part one and part two, it was 392.
Dang. Okay.
Now, I can't explain that. I have no way of explaining how and why that happened, but, maybe it speaks to what we're doing. Hopefully. We'll see.
That's right. That's right. I mean, and you couldn't have had it happen for a better guest, right? I mean, just talk about, great.
Yeah,
great
that
guest,
was
right?
that
So it
was
kinda
a
works out
powerhouse episode. And
That's
so,
right.
yeah, and hopefully, when you hear part one, you're like, oh yeah, I definitely want to check in for part two. And that allows us to keep it consistent. And listen, we've shared this before. Sometimes we can bank a lot of guests. And there's other times when the well is dry. There's just not people, and it's all timing. It's Michael and I who are booking the guests, right? And so we do our very best to make sure that we have a show for you every week. But we did have a period of time where we skipped a couple weeks. And again, in the podcast world, you want to keep the momentum going, but also it's not the end of the world.
That's right. That's right. And again, to your point, like it's a blast to do this show, but again, like it does feel good, right? It has to. It has to feel good. So I mean, again, it's not like it's not the be all end all, but it definitely helps. It definitely is like, oh, okay, there it is. That makes sense. But I did have a handful of questions for you.
Let's go.
Yeah. So with something like that, right? I mean, like. That being probably, again, the biggest number in terms of just downloads, right? That doesn't speak to like the amount of folks listening. That speaks to the amount of people being like, I'm going to save this, as in whether I'm finishing that right now or coming back to it. I need this on my device, right? Yeah. All that to say, like, I know you've touched on it throughout like these episodes, right? But for the new listeners, the people coming in now, like, what is it that, besides, oh, I love Sacramento because of course, right? But what is it that like gets you so excited about making a show like this? Like what is it?
Everybody has a story to tell. This is about storytelling, and I get to be a part of the journey. And whether I know the person very well or don't know them at all, because we've had those cases, right? Either they've been suggested or have come our way, that I welcome every opportunity because I know something great is going to come out of it. I mean, we've had young, old, in between, and I have learned so much. The way that I think I've said it before is like, these were the types of conversations that I wanted to have, but I would never do in my normal life. Like I would never probably have the time to reach out to these people and say, hey, would you want to go get coffee and talk for 90 minutes and just have you share your story? We would like to do that, but it's hard to do with life. So here we have this unique platform. And yes, I do love Sacramento. And all we're doing is we're bringing these people to the forefront, right? And some are big names, depending on how you look at it. To me, it's all relative because some of the greatest stories that we have told are people that you would never know. But that's why we have the show, because then we can bring them to light. And for me, it was about jumping back into what I love. And I do love broadcasting and haven't done it in a long time, but have carried it into the other things that I've done. So the fact that I've been able to get on board and just be able to ask questions and try to be a good interviewer, that's like something I really strive for. And like I said, I think my biggest thing is not cheat the conversation, because listen, 2 episodes ago, we interviewed an 11-year-old golfer, Stevie Meda. Right. Okay. And I just saw him at the golf course earlier this week. And I went to him and I went to his mom and I said, you know what? You did a great job. I mean, to be 11 years old and on a podcast that's going to be on the audio and video version, he was amazing. So it's really cool to have these moments with just people to say, you know what? We want to make you shine.
That's right. That's right. And I think, if I may be so bold, I think that you said like one of your goals is to be a great interviewer, but like you're nailing it. You're nailing it. And like, I think that you provide such an energy, again, whether it be to the podcast platform, whether it be to the reactions, whether it be to your auctioneering, to anything that you do. Like, I think you do provide a genuine experience to folks. I think you give them a genuine platform to share, right? And again, I can't say enough. It's what inspires me to like not just be a part of the show, but to like to learn from you. Like as you are asking people, like I am curious, the questions you're asking folks for their answers, I'm curious about your version of that answer. Because I think for someone like myself who like is a bit of like an entrepreneur myself, like I think like it is inspiring. Like I moved to Los Angeles in 2016 to pursue this thing called film, right? This very like intense kind of hard to get into industry. And like, I'm there until about February of last year. And I'm like, kind of like, I won't like struggling is not the right word for it, but like it's not quite turning out how I want it to. Right. And so I go and I decide we decide we're moving to Sacramento, and again, getting to do the podcast, and then again, learning from you, like, in your recollection of working for the Kings, and then that goes away, and then how that transitions into teaching, into auctioneering, into getting to ultimately come back to broadcasting, to Buzzard Ball, like getting to provide that experience. Like, it's so inspiring. And I don't think that, like, I truly don't think that like you get to hear that enough. And it's very, very cool, my friend. So all that to say, like, to be a great host, to be a great, like, you are absolutely nailing it.
Well, the most coveted word, and I thank you, Michael, is the word experience. And it's in the title, Experience the Buzz. And by the way, my wife came up with that title, which I thought was genius, because to me, that is the word I use with everything. I just spoke with a couple earlier tonight about doing their wedding. I want it to be a great experience. I'm getting ready to auctioneer tomorrow night, talking to that group. Let's make it a great experience. Let's make it fun. Same thing here. It truly is about an experience, because as I'm doing the conversations, I'm thinking about my journey. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's what it is. It's a journey. You're describing your journey right now. And there's so much that's ahead of you. And that's what I love about it too, is like, I can't wait for whatever's next, you know? And so I'm in it to win it with this, and I'll go as long as I can with this, but there's probably that next big thing. And even at 53, it's like, it's still exciting, because if you can tell yourself that you don't stop learning, I think that's what makes life very exciting. There's so much out there. So, and I also want to flip things too, and just say what a great job you have done. I mean, being able to watch, especially on the video side, what you have done, that's where I really think it's taken things to the next level, right? Because with the audio version, you basically were able to just kind of, okay, Steve, I see what you're doing. I'm just going to just kind of let that be and do that same thing. But with the video, that's where you put your stamp on it. And so I want people to know that that's all Michael, and I have 100% trust in him, and obviously he has delivered. So great job.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And if you don't mind me asking, this is a very, very sidebar question.
Sidebar. I love sidebars.
In the company that I work for, we have these things called icebreakers. So a lot of the times they are kind of random. If you don't mind me asking, do you read can you read books and stuff every now and then, right?
Oh gosh, like, I'm on a tear right now. I'm on a tear.
Okay, so my question is, what are you reading now?
Uh-huh.
And which book of the many has inspired you the most?
Wow. Okay. Well, I will tell you the book that inspires me the most is the Bible. I read the Bible every day. So I will always go with the Bible, number one. But the timing of your question, one of my goals was I want to have John Gordon on the show. Now, John Gordon is not from Sacramento, okay? But he does what is called the Positive You podcast. He is very big. He's a motivational speaker. And he was actually introduced to me podcast-wise by Andrea Gebhardt, who was on this show. She is a true entrepreneur. So from that, this year I said, I'm going to read all of his books. Well, this guy has written 27 books, okay? 27. And I just finished number 7 today, which is called The No Complaining Rule. I'm looking at them right now. They're right across from me. Before that, The Carpenter, The Garden, The Coffee Bean, Power of Positive Leadership, The Sale, and my favorite, The Energy Bus. So The Energy Bus, I would say as of late, is my favorite, just because the story actually is about him. And it's this cool thing where they use the bus, and when he hops on the bus, there's people there that inspire and get him positive, and it's absolutely great. So he does it in such a style that I really like. You can literally read the book in 2 hours. It's that quick, but it's got a lot of punch to it. So that's where I'm at currently.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And then my follow-up question to that, something we've talked about, when is the Steve Buzzard book coming out?
Yeah, that's interesting, because he actually John Gordon did a podcast in which he talked to a guy who helps people that want to self-publish. And so it did trigger me to say, that might be interesting. So let's say it's a back burner thing. And it's funny. I was listening to the whole podcast until it got to the end where, what does it cost to do something like this? I had no idea, right? Well, the starting point was $14,000.
Oh, okay. So,
okay. So did that deflate the balloon a little bit? Yes, but not completely. So that's the thing, is like, it is now a back burner thing. I'm actually trying to work on something where I have an online course that teaches my basketball portion of what I do, a summer camp and a basketball league. So I've always got ideas, and the book is not off the table, but not right now.
Not right now. The only reason I asked, there's a fellow who I work with who is self-published, and he published all of his stuff just directly through Amazon.
Yep. And that's how I would do it. I would definitely do it for self-publishing because what was interesting within that conversation was talking about not worrying about how many books you sell, but
Definitely.
that you leave it as a legacy. Like you just leave it as a legacy. And so if I can leave it as a legacy for my family, for, my children and my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, and then for the people of Sacramento, however that may goes, like that would be a victory for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. I look forward to it. Because I have $14,000 or not. I look forward to the day because I have no doubt that it will happen.
I appreciate it.
You got it. And then you ask in your rapid fire questions, you ask folks their favorite Disney attraction. What is Steve Buzzard's can't miss Disney attraction?
Oh, it's the Incredicoaster. Hands down.
Incredicoaster.
Incredicoaster. I can ride that thing over and over and over and over and over again. And I will have to say that California Adventure did a great job because, as we know before, it was California Screaming. Okay.
That's right.
So when you change the attraction, especially one like that, you better do a really good job. And they nailed it, because I was so bummed when I heard the announcement that they were going to change California Screaming. And even when they made the announcement that it was going to be the Incredibles kind of theme and everything, I'm like, okay, we'll see how this goes. And then riding that for the first time, although completely different, it still was a great roller coaster ride.
Pretty fantastic.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm wondering, are you going back anytime soon, you think?
Actually, we're going for our 30th anniversary. So we'll be down there in mid-May. Our anniversary is May 23rd. So for our 30th, we decided we're going to go down there, do a little hopper, stay at the Grand Californian, go do it with style. 30 years of marriage.
Doing it right. Doing it up.
Yep.
Doing it up. I hear that, by the way, you can't miss the Runaway Railway is supposed to be fantastic.
Okay.
That new ride in Toontown, of all places.
Oh, in Toontown. Yes, because Toontown just opened back up. Well, you know what I go for, right? Not just the roller coaster. I go for the churros. So there will be a churro review, segment number 3. It'll be our 3rd time doing churro reviews.
That's right. What's the best churro? What's the best of the ones you've had now that you've done 2?
The one that comes to mind is the apple caramel churro. Yeah, that was delightful. That was the last one. That was on the cart just across from Starbucks and California Adventure, whipped cream on it, a whole 9 yards. Yeah, that one delivered.
Yeah.
But everyone still, it's so funny. I have people come up to me, and the one they mention is the one that just really got me, the pepper, the ghost pepper.
Yeah, that one kind of beat you up a little bit.
Yeah, that got me. That got a lot of views on the IG story, simply because of my reaction.
Yeah, it's watching anybody eat something spicy is funny, but watching you eat something spicy.
Well, honestly,
you're so nice about it.
Honestly, I did not expect it. I knew what ghost pepper was. And here's the funny thing, Michael, is now that experience has happened, I'll go to the grocery store. I look. Wait, there's ghost pepper potato chips, know? And I'm just like, wait, where's this? It's kind of like when you buy a new car and then all of a sudden you start seeing that car all the time. I think the same thing is going on with ghost peppers.
That's right. It's becoming the new, that's going to be the new, norm, right?
Yes.
At one point, jalapeno chips, which are the best, were like, oh, these are spicy chips, right?
Yeah, and just so you know, when it comes to churros, I probably will avoid the Haunted Mansion because the last 2 churros that I've had in that particular area have been terrible.
Really?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
Ghost pepper, and I think the one before that, it was called a black and white or something, and just didn't deliver.
Yeah, I'm a sucker just for the classic churro, but I mean caramel apple. I mean, how can you beat it?
No, I like the condiments, man. You got the dipping sauce, everything.
Extras.
Yeah,
just like when you did a review on the pickle
yes,
corn dog.
Yes, that was quite the experience, and not in a good way.
No. It's hard it's like impossible. You try to bite through it, and you're like, this is a stunt.
Well, someone suggested that. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll go for it. And the funny thing is, when we did our churro reviews last time around, we actually had sponsors. We had sponsors, which was awesome. So don't think we're not going to try that again, because that was a lot of fun. It paid for the churros.
That's right. Hey, you put me on the spot, name dropping sponsors. Who are those? No, I'm kidding. I'll cut this part out.
Well, I could tell you who it was. It was the Bolden family. It was the Weitzman family. And I think there was one other that I'm forgetting, but those two come to mind.
Those two come to mind. So kind of getting semi back. With all the things that Steve Buzzard does, with Buzzard Ball, with the podcast, with auctioneering, DJing, like, how do you find the time? Like, what is it, like a day-to-day thing? Is it like Monday, I'm taking care of this, Tuesday, I'm taking care of that? Like, how do you find the time?
Well, I'll start with grace of God, because sometimes I wonder, how do you do it? And it's strange, because now being away from teaching, in which I had the 9 to 5, and now not having the 9 to 5, I look back and I'm like, I don't know how I did it, but I think you just do it, right? You just do it. I try not to complain, which is interesting, because the book I just read, the no complaining rule. If these are things that I'm going to take on and I want to do to the best of my ability, then I can't complain about it. I just want to do it, and do it really, really well. I tell people, like, I'll list the things I do and stuff, but I will always say, so, like, especially with weddings, when I'm talking to couples, I'll say, but listen, I treat everything like it's my full-time job. And I do. And it's because I love all these components. If I didn't love it, I wouldn't do it.
That's right.
So that's very, very big for me. And I thought multitasking was a great trait, and I've kind of found out lately it's not. And so what I try to do is I try to really attack like one thing at a time. So even if it's big, to say, okay, finish it up and then move on to the next thing, and try not to go down the rabbit holes that get me scurrying all over the place. Because my spirit animal, if you go to Disneyland, inside the store, it's the dog from Up. That, squirrel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Squirrel.
Definitely. That tracks.
That's me. That's me.
Yeah, that tracks. That makes sense. Oh, good times.
You want to wrap it up?
I mean, I don't know. Do you want to wrap? This is your show.
No, I think we've done it. I do want to say the last thing. We've talked about, obviously, Experience the Buzz, the podcast. We've talked about, Heavy Metal Thunder and First Look. We've talked about dividing up now our episodes into 2. The next thing is going to come, because if you take what I've done, because I've done some solo podcasts, I would easily say we've interviewed 100 guests, at least 100 guests, even though we're on 117, okay? Because we've done the Banter Bros and multiple segments there. We're going to do a follow-up series, which I'm really excited about. So, for example, I'm getting ready to speak to our very first guest on this show, and that's Tim Collom. And so the last time I talked with Tim Collom and featured him and got us kicked off was January 22nd of 2021, or was it 2020, 2021? I think it was 20. Anyways, it was like before the pandemic, or during the pandemic and everything. And so I've been listening to that conversation, and we're actually going to do a follow-up. It'll be a shorter version, maybe a 30-minute conversation, like, just picking out things from what we talked about to say, hey, what has happened since then? Because a big question that I've been bringing up with our guests lately has been, what did you learn from COVID? What were your takeaways from COVID? Well, I didn't do that with any of the first guests because we were in it. So now that we're out of it, it'll be interesting to kind of revisit these guests and say, okay, what has happened since we last talked? So I'm looking forward to those episodes coming your way.
That's right. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to, those follow-ups. That's going to be fantastic. Again, to your point, middle of pandemic, now a couple years post, how does that look like to your business? Again, as someone who was self-employed, I'm putting that loosely, during pandemic versus now working for a company where it's like even the people in charge where I work for are like kind of expressing the differences between like the pre and post. It is very interesting. So
it is
very curious to hear how their experiences have changed.
Yep. And I believe even though that was a big pause and it caused a lot of fear and everything, I think it's important that within that big adversity to say, okay, what is it that's going to make you stronger? And I think there are a lot of people, especially ones that we have talked to, that drew out some big things that really helped their company. And I can say the same thing happened for me as well. So while it wasn't fun to go through, definitely the pause was probably necessary for all of us to kind of look at things a little bit differently and hopefully come out a better person.
That's right. That's right. And if I may, I would be curious. This is a question for our listeners and viewers. I'm curious who out there would be ready for a live show of some kind.
Talked about this. Mm-hmm. I'm down. You know me. I'm down. I would love to make it happen. And you know what my motto is? It takes one to party.
That's right.
Even if we had one viewer, I would be okay with it. So I think it's something, Michael, they say with ideas like this, you can't let them sit on the back burner. Even though I said that with the book, I should have used another analogy, but you know what? I think we just do it, right? Let's just, we'll set a date. We'll just do it and make it happen. And maybe it could just be a conversation like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Why not?
Yeah, I'm down.
All right. Well, that does bring us towards the tail end of this particular episode 117 of Experience the Buzz. I want to thank my guest, Steve Buzzard, for coming on his own show. Steve, why don't you feel free to tell the folks where they can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the audio form, you can go to the website, buzzardball.com. But here's the deal. We're on all the major platforms. So you can go to Apple, you can go to Spotify, you can go to Google and other podcasting platforms. Just type in Experience the Buzz. Boom, it will pop up. We have 117 episodes. So I invite you, if you have never heard the show, go back in and see who it is that we've talked to. We have had some great guests, and they are all conversations that stand the test of time. Why? Because we are telling that person's story. So it's not even related to the time that we do the interview. It really stands on its own. Then on the video side, just go to YouTube, right? Go to YouTube and just type in Experience the Buzz. From there, you'll see our channel. So it's got the subgenres, right? So you can have the Experience the Buzz podcast in video form because we do it on this platform here at Riverside. And then, of course, we have the first look reactions that you can check out as well. And of course, just be a part of the community, especially if you're from Sacramento. There is no reason to pop in and check us out.
That's right. Exactly.
All right. So there you have it. Do you want me to put the bow on it?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay,
please.
I will do that. This is Michael Knobbe. You now know him, producer. And there's one question I am going to ask before we go. Yeah. Can you tell everybody they would never know from looking at you right now, how many tattoos do you have?
Oh God, I have one tattoo. It's just
one whole tattoo. Do you know the number?
Off the top of my head, I think like 30.
30.
Wow. 30 something.
Wow.
Give or take. Yes, and my parents love all of them. So that I've got that going for me.
He's well loved by his parents. So see, kids, if you want to get a tattoo, you should be A-okay.
That's right. I think, in all honesty, I think the only one that I've gotten like a semi like, hey, that's cool. I have a matching one from my dad.
I love it.
But yeah, no, other than that, no, all jokes aside, they are like not in on it. But that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. You got to do something, right?
Yeah.
It could be worse.
Oh, it could be a lot worse. That's a good point right there. So we're not going to do any final word or anything like that. The final word is happening right here. We've got more guests coming your way with the brand new format. Check out our first look reactions. Again, I hope you enjoyed this episode. A little bit different. I just wanted you to have the opportunity to meet Michael. And of course, we just kind of bantered back and forth about the show, what we've done, what is happening today, and of course, what we're going to be doing in the future. So, and here, okay, so I've got a confession to make because, you think I would know the tagline, like I would have it down, but I still don't have it down, Michael. So I am reading it for you, but it is with passion that I bring it to you, and I say that's all I got for now. Talk to you next time. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you for joining Steve this week on Experience the Buzz. Steve would love to hear from you. Leave a review or contact Steve directly with any questions at scbuzzard@gmail.com. To see the other adventures of Steve Buzzard, be sure to visit buzzardball.com.